Councilor Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. On January 18th, I had a Disparate Historical Society meeting. There we have some exciting things coming up for the museum. We have our Sugar Fest on April 1st that will be taking place, so just a copy off of Pi Social. We also have an upcoming online silent auction for people to participate in, and there's also coffee conversations that will be held out through February and March and for the upcoming months. So yeah, some exciting things happening at the museum.
Thank you for that. Deputy Mayor?
January was quite busy, so I'm not going to go into depth on any of these. They will be reports probably within our next council part of our CM. But on the 5th of January, we had a PEC meeting. PEC met. January 16th, we had the Committee of the Whole meeting. The 17th, we had a meeting regarding some upcoming evaluations. Also on the 17th, when that was finished, I had a meeting with the Didsbury Municipal Library Board. And then on the 19th, I had a Chamber of Commerce meeting. And the 24th, we had the audit plan. So there's a lot of information there that I won't get out in my 2 minutes.
I can always give you more. But thank you for that. Councilor McCoy.
I attended the strategic planning meeting on January 16th as did Deputy Mayor, and on the 18th attended the Policy and Governance Committee. And we discussed a lot of policy, and we're starting to work on the procedural bylaw, which I'm very excited about.
Thank you. Councilor Bowser.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended some of the meetings my colleagues were at as well, so I don't want to elaborate on that. As reference to the Water Commission, we had a very short Zoom meeting because the agenda was cut back, which I appreciate. I always like brevity, as you know. So it was only, I think it was 35 minutes, which is the shortest we've ever done. And nothing specific came out of it. It was just housekeeping and that type of stuff, and preparing for the year end, which is on its way. So other than that, we're still getting beautiful ponted water from the Water Commission. It's fine.
Most of you are, yes. Thanks for that report, Deputy Mayor.
Council members may be hard to come.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can we?
She is here, isn't she? Yes.
She is,
I
but
apologize.
Can we hold hers off until she's here in person? She can give us an update on them. That we can try.
Did she ask that?
I don't know. No, I'm just making a suggestion.
Councillor Moore, do you want to give a report?
Actually, there will be minutes or records of all the meetings that I was at, so I don't need to, I don't think.
Okay. Thank you. Apologize for that. I'll get better. I'm not looking at the computer this time, so for the whatever it is, laptop. I didn't prepare a report, so I will have mine at the next meeting as well. And I will, unless there's questions of anyone, have a motion to accept the council reports as presented. Deputy Mayor?
I move the council approve council reports or accept them as information.
Call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. And now we have the CEO report. Quite a lengthy, extensive, it's not action-packed, but information-filled report. Some is action-packed, like the bylaw job. But do you have anything to add to that, Ethan? I didn't think so. It's pretty thorough. It's quite thorough. Are there questions or comments about the report? Councillor McCoy?
The whole report or just?
Anything in the report? Yeah.
Okay. I just have a question from the fire department report. It says 42.2% of their time was spent on alarms. Explain that to me. Is that false alarms or all alarms?
So the fire call report, that's the percentage of calls, not necessarily the percentage of their time. But yeah, that's all alarm calls, and there seemed to be a higher than normal number of alarm calls this year, which actually corresponds to what our RCMP report was. There was some issues with like TELUS alarms specifically, with people who self-installed them. So that's a combination of, well, that's probably majority false alarms, because there weren't very many structure fires that occurred.
So what is the percentage you think of that? Like half of them are false alarms or?
I'd have to bring that information back for you.
Okay, I
Yeah.
haven't seen
Councillor Moore has a question.
Actually, it's on the development and planning and development reports. It says that the total construction values are in millions. I'm just asking if, and the ones that are in millions are presented that way, but the ones that are under $1 million, I wonder if they could be done with a decimal point so that they would be accurate.
We'll get back to you on that. You can make a motion on that too. I think all of these reports, if there's any recommendations or changes that we'd like to see, then I guess we should indicate that rather than make the motion. So Councillor McCoy and Councillor Moore will have a motion.
I have a couple more questions.
Does anybody else, just because we take turns, but go ahead if you have it.
I see that you discovered some of the water loss through the chair. This is directed, I think, at Craig. Through the chair, to Craig. Yeah. What is our water loss percentage now? Like, I remember at one point you told us it was 40% or something, but you found some leaks. Is it reduced?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, at this point in time, we don't have a revised number based on leaks found in the last quarter. It doesn't quite correlate that quickly. It takes time to sort of build the data up and look at the trend more than anything. So we haven't gone through that analysis for the year yet, but that's upcoming for the finals.
Thanks, Craig. Councillor Bazook?
Further to that, Craig, through the chair, I know the Water Commission was looking at some equipment that could trace or sniff out various deficiencies in water, like leaks and that type of thing. I guess my question is, have they talked to you about that at all, or should I take it back to them and say, do it?
So thank you for the question. There's been a fair bit of conversations between regional operators as of late. We've had some unusual system usage. We've had an opportunity to talk about the agreement that's in front of us at the moment with the Water Service Commission, and water loss also is a topic that we kind of cover. Had some fruitful conversations with Crossfield just last week, and they put us onto a piece of equipment. I was actually just reviewing specs before the meeting. So we'll be looking at different pieces of equipment that can help us while we're out just doing routine calls. We can put the equipment on there while we go do our work, come back, take a look at the data, see if we can hear anything in the background, that sort of thing. So there are some technologies out there that are sort of user-friendly now that we're going to try and look at.
My understanding was that the commission is looking at providing equipment grants to the towns. That's my focus, is hopefully they do that to save us, so we don't have to buy the equipment, we can use what they provide, hopefully, if they're going forward with that, which I don't know.
No, it's interesting, and I'll follow up on that because like I say, that we have found equipment. It's not overly expensive. So we'll see what they're looking at, and yeah, I'm always open to conversations about that, for sure. Thank you.
Good to hear that information, Councillor Bazick.
Yeah, I thought that was.
Encourage them to do that.
Yes, I did think that was in hand. You see, that's why I wanted to find out if he'd heard any scuttlebutt on it, if they were doing any dialogue on it or providing equipment.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
So now you have something to do tomorrow, Craig. Councillor McCoy?
This is just a small thing, the sand and salt or whatever that's at the Public Works building. I wonder if there couldn't be a few placed around in each community or something to stop people from having to cross the highway to get some sand to fix their sidewalk, just to make it easier. I guess it's not really a question. It's
No,
a
it's
thought.
kind of a
Sorry.
direction.
Yeah, sorry.
So,
This is a question. Two things. The tax roll in arrears for 2021 is at 0, and in 2022 it's at 224. So we had no arrears last year, and we have 224 arrears this year. And the second part is taxes receivable went up extremely high for current and 1 year.
so through the chair,
Through the
I
chair.
think that we're going to ask Ethan that if there is an answer, or sometimes we'll need to bring that back.
I'll refer to Amanda.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. So the taxes receivable, yes, those are a lot higher than last year on December 31st. There are a couple of properties with larger balances outstanding that were kind of cleared up at last year and amounting for some of that, and we're seeing more current, like year one, if you look at the current taxes, that's where the biggest jump is between 2021 and 2022. So a large number of people who didn't pay their current year taxes compared to the prior year. That's almost 100,000 of the difference right there. And so that's unusual, and I can only, I guess, surmise why that's occurring. With, I guess, the economy the way it is. Like, rolls in arrears, I'll have to get some clarification on that for you. I believe if we looked at it at a point in time, like the same point in time last year, there would have been properties in arrears, but let me gather some more information on that, about that one, and bring it back.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're okay? Any other questions?
I have a few. I can find my notes. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to add to Councillor, I'm going to ask for motions to come out of all these directives. So I'm going to ask Councillor McCoy, or Moore, I'm sorry. It's maybe because you're here, I'm saying your name all the time. I guess what is the good news from the report, Q1, Q4? And I'm going to ask that we add that when we get to the Q4, we see what that means against the previous year. So I asked for that in Councillor Moore's motion, but can we have that answered? If there's good news about these development numbers, are they up? And I know I might put you on the spot, and we can always have it brought back. But
Well, on that, we are still going to bring a year-end report. This is just the Q4, but there will be a full year review.
okay, and that'll include all that.
And that
Okay.
might capture
Yeah, that's fair.
what you're thinking about.
Yeah, just thinking way ahead of you. Actually not, since you already thought of it. But thank you for that. I am interested in, about community services, the MVFRN. Do we know why it's just extended for 1 year? Is that concerning, or does anybody have that answer, or do we have to end up that high? Because they just extended, again, it was for 2 years, so it's they're 2.5, and they asked for bids again. It was supposed to be for 3, and then they, at 2.5 years, they put out the bid again, and now it's just for 1 year, so that seems kind of like short-sighted that you go year by year for these big programs.
Yeah, I'll have to bring back information on that. My guess is that it's just a contractual thing, that's what's listed, it's the framework that's spelled out in the.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it just seems like such a big program that they only go year by year. I mean, that's kind of iffy, halfway through the year that you start on your next application already. So maybe we'll just identify all the things we like back and have that motion made as one. How's that?
Sure.
And that's good news about Lagoon. Thanks for that information, Craig, and all the work there on that. So, and I have a book here. I don't know how many you have of these, Alexa, but thanks for in the Invest Alberta. I'm not showing that side. The Invest Alberta book has a full-page ad on our beautiful community and encouraging to make this your location for work. Make your location work for your workforce. Go big and come home. So thank you for that. It's great. It's well done. And I have one more copy, but I don't know how many, where we would get the other ones. Okay. Thanks, Alexa, for all that work. And that's all I have. And I think we should have a motion, though, to capture everything that we'd like brought back, just one, so we'll just add to it. And do you want to make that, Councilor McCoy, and then we'll add into it?
Do we want Dorothy's to be on the same list?
Yeah, we'll just do all that.
Sorry, Councillor Moore, sorry.
I think if I could, Mayor, with your pleasure, Dorothy raised a good observation and we can clean that up. I don't think that's not really information. We can just,
Okay.
I understand what she's saying about the funny way that part reads, so we can just,
Okay.
that's an easy one to fix.
She's agreeing with that.
Okay. So we need just the information then on.
So that administration return to council with a report on current water loss, and as well as tax roll and in arrears, and taxes receivable. And that I would have made a separate one, but you're asking for them all together. And I would like to see a current org chart to help me with the budget. If it gets voted down, we can pull it out.
I'm going to add after I just ask this, because I believe, Ethan, if I'm correct, that we saw a current org chart on October 11th when Nicole presented a few changes, just shifting roles. And that is in the October 11th package. So would that satisfy your need there? Because it is current.
Well, it's current, except that there's 2 people in the room that weren't employees of ours at the time, and that those positions are new to that budget line. So that's why I'd like to see a full work chart, like an up-to-date one as of this year, because that will affect how we budget as well, right?
Can we put that in the budget conversation? Since it's related to the budget? How's that?
So I will amend my motion to...
Well, I could add to it yet, so you just withdraw
I'll-
that part.
I'll just take out the org chart and leave in water loss report and tax rolls in arrears and taxes receivable.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just an update on the Mount View Family Regional or Resource Network. Add that to that. And I'm sure those will come back in the, yes?
And the alarm calls with the fire department?
Oh, yes. Yes, good
Wow.
catch.
Good notes.
Gotta love Lou.
We got Glenn.
And
All right.
so we'll add that as well. Thanks, Lou.
So do you want to read that back to us then, since you're listening so clearly? Well,
So, current water loss, information on alarm calls for the fire department, tax arrears and tax receivables, Mountain View Family Resource Network funding. Contract.
All right, anything else? Sorry? Okay, I'll call that vote. DO report is information. I guess it doesn't matter on order. So any, if there's... Those words?
I didn't make it, but I can make it. I move that council accept the CAO report for January 24th, 2023 as information.
Okay. I'll call the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Can I, as we move forward with the voting, I'll raise my hand, but I'll say yay or nay for Councillor Moore so that you know what she is voting, if that's okay.
Okay. Did she have a nay vote?
No,
Okay.
no, just
Okay.
moving forward. I'm not even anticipating she will. I don't know. Just so that there's no conflict.
Well, Councillor Moore, if you don't vote nay, we don't have to worry about it. But if you do, I guess Councillor or Deputy Mayor's got it under control. Thank you for that. Okay, we have item 7, the 2023 operating budget. And what's that? Yeah, we'll have discussion first. That's generally how these are going. Are there any, Ethan, does the administration have anything to add right now? And then I'll go with councillors.
Just that here we've included all the information that was requested to be brought back. And so you've identified kind of where you try to like to get to, and then you've got some options in front of you as to help you try to get there. And we've also added some information as to some alternative ways that you might get there as well for your consideration, and then all the other information there. So.
Okay. Did you want to say, Councillor Windsor? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. First of all, I want to thank administration for providing the pie chart that updated the salaries and benefits that I'm not completely clear on them in. I have that question about that pie chart. And in the increased costs of EE, no, that's not it. It was in the changes of impact in the full year, it dropped by $39,000. And I'm wondering if you could explain to me why, if I could get an explanation as to why it dropped $39,000, where that came from.
Which item?
On the pie chart?
Yes.
Yes, it would be the 2022 changes impact on the full year. Because it went from 189,000 down to 150,000.
Are you talking about that? Okay. Thank you. Yes. Clarify the ground section. Okay.
Just give us a little time on that.
Sure.
If you want me to carry on, and then we'll.
Oh, there was another question.
Sorry.
So this here last time was 189. That's 150. So where's that? Where's that? Less than from.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that one's the adjustment. Because you removed that position. Yeah.
Oh, is that from
Well, I think all the questions are all the time. I don't mind breaking in.
Oh,
For our live stream viewers, and to fill some time, our CAO and CFO are currently conferring on that question. Is that the right word? Maybe not. Conferencing on that question. And we have an answer?
yeah, we're just reviewing the, yeah, show me. So it had the, after the slide came out, we've had the approval of the new intern, which then we offset mostly by the removal of the admin support for the CAO. And so with those adjustments in there, that's why it went down.
It's netted into that grouping because it didn't make sense to net it against the new positions for the current year, since you wanted to see those kind of the cost of that, and you can't have a negative section, so. It'd be a net change from 2022's, what happened in 22, because we're not filling that position this year. If that makes sense. I guess I could have put the interns' costs in the new positions, but it's netted against the removal of a assist, yeah. So we could show that differently if you want.
No, I just needed an
Mm-hmm.
explanation, and I understand that.
Because we're gaining a minus, and that's why it was difficult to show. Because removing that one position we had, the admin support to the CAO, costs more than the cost of adding the intern. So that net savings was put into the brown.
This is why you don't like pie charts, probably, Amanda. You said that. But thanks for those answers.
I'm not sure why you wouldn't just, when we cut that position, why wouldn't you just remove it from the budget and the pie chart and then add in the net cost of the intern?
So,
That is what happened, but because it's a net zero, it's a net minus, that's why it went down.
Oh, gotcha, okay. So you did do that. I don't like pie
on the same line, or is there other questions? Are there other questions right now? Go ahead then, Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. We've gone through kind of an arduous process through here with the budget, and I'd really like to simplify this, because if we're going to get down, what was indicated was that council kind of wanted to get to that 4%. And if we're going to get down to that level, we can't be worried about $2,000 and $4,000 and $3,000 items. We need $450,000 of reduction in this budget. So, and I'm looking at last year's surplus, budgetary surplus, the operating budget surplus, and I'm not suggesting that we're going to have an operating budget surplus of that magnitude again, but we don't know what it's going to be. And it may be that that is going to assist us in making this decision and ending up at a budget that we're happy with. And so what I'd like to suggest, and I'm willing to make it as a motion, is that we table the discussions on the budget until we have that budgetary surplus for 2022, so that we're in a better position to make an educated decision as to what we need to do in terms of revenue for tax on our operating budget for the 2023 year. I can make I can make a motion to the, well, I don't know that we're at that point. I thought we were still discussing. So if you would like me to make a motion, I'll make a motion.
That's fine. If you don't want to make it now, or if there's more discussion,
Sorry. So I looked at the cash flow from operations over the weekend, and the annual surplus included before and after government transfers, cash in the bank, and they're all good. The reserves are good, accumulated surplus made up, unrestricted and restricted, that's just my notes for me. Municipal indicators are all green, like there's a website you can go on, Frenchly. So we're in good shape. Comparable tax rates, we're above the average for our comparison group. And we seem to have healthy reserves as well as plenty of money in the cash in the bank. Are we saving for something? Are we saving that $8 million plus or whatever for some project? Or why are we not spending it? Because typically municipalities don't show surpluses at the end of the year. They budget tighter and so I'm saying that if we increase this, but we already have, like last year, for the last 5 years, there's been a surplus at the end of the year. So we're bickering at the beginning of the year, but you don't spend the money. So to me, there's some maybe padding or something in there that hasn't been looked at. Like instead of just taking last year's budget and adding 5% or whatever you think you need, maybe it should be from the scratch budget coming up. And I too would want to know what the current estimate for 2022 surplus will be. So I would go farther than what you're saying and suggest that I like the point you made on, where is it? Yeah, I like the point you made under other revenue sources. And if there's ever a time to use the tax balancing account, whatever that is, that I say now would be that time, and that'll knock 50-something off. And then, like you said, we can use unrestricted reserves to cover the rest. And then maybe we don't raise the budget at all, and we deal with it mid-year if we run into troubles. Because honestly, where's that? Like every year, if we're putting something into reserves, we should be spending it on the current people that live here, fixing roads, sidewalks, infrastructure, with the tax money that we collect from them. I don't think we should save it in perpetuity, but I don't know if you have a project plan with that 8 or 9 million, whatever's in the cash. That was at your December 31st, 2021.
Yeah, I don't know what the question is. There a question?
That was the question.
What's the question?
How much money is in our cash right now?
I'd have to,
Has it gone down or has it gone up? I don't need to the penny.
Go ahead, Ethan.
I can speak to a few of the things there that were raised. So council setting budgets is an estimation game, and you can put some added risk in your budget setting if you want. We tend to, like most administrations in municipalities, we err on the side of very conservative, so hence you see the surpluses, because we would rather be on that side because that's easier to deal with than on the other side, because it's a lot of trouble if you come in and you're over budget at the end of the year. And so, but council has the option to tighten that risk and to take on more risk in setting your budget if you want to say, hey, we're going to assume we're going to have a surplus and you can pull that back. So it's a council decision on how much risk you want to put in your budget setting. We recommend being conservative with that because, again, even if, which council's talked about at this table before, you always have the option of taking all of your surplus at the end of the year and setting that forward to the next year's budget to offset that if you want. So it's there's not a lot of downside to having a surplus, because there is if you have the opposite. And then the other thing is just to help clarify, because this comes up sometimes, the amount of taxes pulled out of a home is based on the assessment of that home.
Of course.
And so the rates, generally the rates are a little higher in Didsbury because the assessment of our homes in Didsbury are lower than other towns. Even though the amount of tax coming out isn't higher, and we've done recent studies where the average amount of tax per person that's coming out of a home in Didsbury Kingsbury is the lowest in the region. So that it does need a bit of a higher rate because the assessment of those homes is lower.
Could I ask for clarification, or it might end up being a second motion, is that I spent many hours on the weekend looking at financials for other communities around and about us, and nobody runs consistently that much of a surplus. And it looks like we're attempting to run a for-profit business, and we are a non-profit or a not-for-profit. I don't think, unless it's tied to, well, you know what I mean, we're not supposed to make money, but is that money tied to projects, or I guess that would answer most of my questions.
I just want to add in there too, though, we had an exceptional year last year, or not exceptional, it's unusual year, having a surplus of 789. The year before that, it was 148 for anybody that did their financial research. So 148 is about where a surplus should be, and that is common. And if anybody goes before that, they can certainly look at that as well. So I also wanted to talk to these tax rates, and I'd like you to make that motion, Councilor Windsor, because I like that idea. And I can also add that I think budget meetings, I think to call a special budget meeting instead of dealing with these at council meetings would make them quite long. And then we have more time to thoroughly explore everything. But I did a chart, and towns are out of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and you can look at the Alberta provincial government site too. And I'm looking at about 20. We're right in the middle. Barrhead and Bowden are right around us. Troshu's 11.2, Wol's at 5.9, and that was last year, 2021. So, you know, the reference to always that we've got such high taxes, we're right in the middle of towns our size. So I think it's unfair for council, if council's making those comments, we're picking on ourselves for making tax rates high. So we can do that by all means, but I know that for the last 5 years it's been mindful budgets, and an unusual year of a $789,000 surplus, which is unusual. Well, the grant paid for, yeah, that was not related to what I'm talking about, but yeah. So Ethan did have his hand up, and Councillor Windsor.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things in a year that anytime you have staff turnover, and then there's always, it takes time to fill those positions, it takes time to reorganize, and when you have people leave, and that always generates savings, and that always generates, and we have a very robust control system in our organization, and with regards to the spending of funds, and so you see that, and we budget conservatively, and we are very careful in the administration of the program that council sets direction for, and so hence we're not an organization that because we're coming up to the end of the year, we find ways to use up the budget so it somehow looks better. I guess if a lower surplus looks better, I don't know, I guess that's a philosophical discussion.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I don't think that a lower surplus looks good. I don't think that that's a good reflection on the community at all. But I do think that having this information with regard to the budgetary surplus for 2022 and helping us make an educated decision does reduce our risk. And so I will make the motion, and I'll move that the council table budget discussions until the 2022 operating budget surplus is available. While I've made that motion, and I think that there's another aspect of the operating budget that we ask for return information with regard to the $300,000 that also needs to be addressed here before we leave this discussion, if that's possible, Mayor Hunter.
We can make, and I'd also like to add, yeah, anything that we're going to ask for to return with the budget certainly can come up tonight as well. And, you know, that's fair. Because if we're going to, I also, like I said, would like to schedule that a budget meeting rather than do it at council meetings, because can be lengthy, and it might get lengthier if we had the time and to put the thought into that, but there is a motion on the table, on the floor, to bring back the budget with the, after the 2022 operating surplus is realized. So, any questions or comments on that? Councillor Williams?
Thank you. When can we expect the budget surplus numbers?
That'll probably be mid to late February when that's available. Yeah, we try to have it like prepared before the auditors here, and that's first week of March.
Any other questions? Call the vote then, all in favor? Okay, that's carried. And you have another motion, and
I'm not sure if it's a motion, I guess it's a question as much as anything, Mayor Hunter, and that is that supposedly now there's 300,000 for the overlay and pavement can be done. That's on whatever street it is, on 20th Street, the mill and overlay can be done through grants rather than through the operating budget, and that gives us a fair amount of leeway there. We certainly have delayed some of the other projects, like the Co-op Road, which is over $1 million, and so that this could be funded from those funds. And there's other projects that are going to be required here in the short term that may also impact that. So I guess what maybe the motion would be that administration bring back the capital budget with the funding for the 20th Street mill and overlay from grants, as opposed to the operating budget.
Just a couple of questions. My recollection is that money set aside and approved for 23rd Street, that's already earmarked for that. Also, I think 20th was also, the budget for that was set. It's bringing me to the point where we can't do all these projects in 1 year. We're going to have to take some of them and delay them till next year. It just doesn't seem to work with me, and it's going to disappoint some people because they want their road done, I want my road done, type of thing, but we can't do them all. It does a couple of things. It stresses out the budget, and it also stresses out our public works because they have to go through the whole process of getting this in order. As you remember, we had a discussion where the professional told us the maximum you should be doing is 3 things. Anything over that is just a list and they won't get done. So I don't want to have 15 roads that we want to fix, and we're going to have to, an extreme, we have to borrow money or whatever in order to get this done. We have to work within our means and within our budget. We generate roughly, what, $12 million a year tax-wise, excluding grants and that type of thing. I think we should work within those dollars, period. And the only way a person can do that, and this is going to be unpalatable to administration or something, you say, okay, we'll agree on 2% taxes. Now, administration has to work within that confine. It puts a lot of pressure on them, but it satisfies me. I'm a taxpayer like everybody. I don't want to pay any more than I have to. But we created council created its own issue because in the previous 4 years, we didn't raise taxes. Now we're going to have to bite the bullet. So we have to every year do something, however big or small, to ease into it over the next 4 years. We can't just dump a big percentage on our tax roll, because I sure wouldn't like it. So if we did a little bit this year, a little bit this year, withdraw some of the projects, You know, we don't have to fix a swimming pool to the tune of $150,000 with all the way that they want. I guess the thing is pare down our wish list. It's a need rather than a want. So that's my rant. I yield back to the chair.
Well, I would like to address some of that because we did pare back our capital budget this year so that all our projects could be caught up this year. And we left on it the 20th Street project. There's one project, and the 23rd Street was paid for last year. It's going to be completed this year. They're coming back. And it's a council's will what tax rate we get to. And so if we sit around here and like Councilor Windsor related to earlier that we pick up 4,000 here, some haven't give any suggestions of where the cut should come from. But 4,000, 2,000, that isn't getting us anywhere. So if council has the will to get to 0 or 2%, then council has to make those adjustments. And we did raise the tax rate last year. We're not in a catch-up mode anymore than anybody else is, and I'm just trying to clarify, not debate. And if anybody looks at all the tax rates around Alberta, we're no different than any other community. And every community is different, I acknowledge, but it's council's will to make cuts. And it's the people, our administrative team sitting there and there, they work at council's will as to what this table brings. And like I said earlier, we're right in the middle with tax rates at 8.5, Penholds at 8.8, Crossville's 8.9, Slave Lake's 9.0, Sunday's 8.3. So council can ridicule ourselves for that, but we set those in the last decade over the years. And if there's suggestions for big cuts, then please make them. But right now we have a motion on the table that will, if you're going to speak to the motion about the surplus.
No,
Motion?
no.
It's about 300,000.
I'm sorry, about 300,000, you're going to speak to that?
I would support that wholeheartedly, that it go to capital, for sure.
So we're going to vote on that, so you can show that in your vote. And the other part, go ahead, Deputy Mayor. No, go ahead.
So we have approximately 350,000 left from last year's surplus, I think if I'm reading this right. There's currently approximately 350,000 available in the general reserve, 58,000 in tax stability fund. Can any of that go towards the overlay project moved into capital? Does that money go into there? Because I would like to see that done. So I support what you're saying. We need to see it moved there, taken off our operating budget.
But can I just refer, and I know you want to speak to that, but everybody go to page, I'm just going to the agenda here, I lost it. Here it is.
Councillor Moore said 42.
Thanks, Councillor Moore. I wondered where that was coming from. And thank you. So it says that our MSI or our community, what's it, Amanda? CCM? Community
Building fund?
Community Building Fund. So it can come out of those two grants.
And we don't need to pull from other places.
No, it comes from the grant.
Fully funded by grants.
Okay. Do you have a comment about this? Okay. Because I want to say too, the only concern I have with that is yeah, I'll leave it at that. Sorry, I won't finish that. We have the motion to use the MSI or this. Give me the name of it. It's not in here. Community. I know, but it's CCMB or
CCBF.
CMBI?
No. CCBF.
Which is what?
Well, you're putting me on the spot. I think it's Canada Community Building Fund.
Yes, it is. Thank you. It's the old GTF.
Yeah.
Gas tax fund. So are there any other comments on this motion then to pay for this through the MSRC?
And then I'm assuming in that motion is to adjust the draft operating budget.
Yes.
Which,
Did I say that? No, I said that. Yeah.
Okay, so now that we've done all that, Luana, you can read that back, please.
Questions?
Well, I kind of had a couple of different things going on, so I believe
Oh,
that
you,
instead of bringing back that, we're to amend the 2023 capital budget to add 20th Street Mill and Overlay Project for $300,000 funded from Canadian Community Building Fund, and that the capital budget be updated accordingly.
MSI.
Oh, and MSI?
No, I'm,
Essentially, it'll go out of the operating budget completely. It will go to the capital budget entirely.
Amanda?
so I'm recommending that MSI capital be used instead of the CCBF, just because there's the funds available in that grant right currently. So I would recommend that that motion be amended to say MSI capital.
Amanda?
Look, Mayor Hunter, like I just mentioned grants. I didn't say whether it was MSI or CCBI or CCBF. Just grants, and administration can determine which grant is best suited to fund that.
Yep, that's fair. So just put grants in there, don't I? Councilman McCoy, you had a question?
That's what it was.
What?
What he asked.
Okay, so we have a motion that has been read back. MSI,
Do you understand it?
No, we're taking out where it comes out of.
grants.
Yeah, he didn't have that in his motion.
Right. Okay, I'll call the vote, all in favor?
And the
Yay, good, thanks. And I also like, I'm just not sure if we are going to, I guess we can make the motion at the time. Because I'd like an updated, and if we're not, I can make this, but I wanted the updated revenue by division, expense by division, and then to have that revenue from tax line updated on our documents, but I can make that in February, or have someone make that in February when we know our budget meeting's coming. So that's what we'll do then. So are there any other comments, concerns, questions, motions on the operating budget? Councilor McCoy?
I have a couple of motions. Well, one's a question, but it's probably going to turn into a motion that administration returned to us with a report on how much contract work we use and the costs of that and what it equates to as an FTE. And the last 3 years statistical information reports that we submit to Alberta Municipal Affairs. That's one.
So on page 41, that doesn't answer, you want different information than what's on page 41 about contracted services?
Yeah, I'm kind of wanting to know how much time, like full-time equivalent, FTE, is that represents. Like, I see that it's going down, which I assume is because we're going to have more in-house planning and more in-house development. I just want to understand that line.
well, planning's gone way down because we're only planning in red. So, but
That would be fine.
Just go ahead for McCoy and then you can go after.
and maybe just to clarify, and thank you, Amanda, for that. So what I'm speaking to, and I think what you were asking about, Councilor McCoy, is with regards to, I guess, what's listed as professional services and then contract